dried up.
This year, Joe received just 10% of the water he needs.
Something has to be done or we won't last another year.
Tough, sad words. But guess what? Most of the farmers in the valley got their water allotments. What CBS didn't bother to mention is that the grower they featured is on the west side of San Joaquin Valley. Water there is provided by the Westlands Water District. They have what are known as junior rights for water. They are at the end of the bucket line for water allotments. They knew that before they even planted one of the many water-intensive crops, which include cantaloupes, asparagus, almonds, processing tomatoes, cotton, and cherries, they knew that in dry years they are not entitled to water. They get the leftovers, but they planted the crops knowing that, and now they're crying foul.
If you're a grower in the Westlands Water District, and you know that you're at the far end of the bucket line for public water, why are you planting permanent crops? The Westlands used to be almost entirely row crops, things that you plant in the summer if water was available. We've had droughts before in California, the late 70s, 86, 87 to 92, we had a long drought there. And if you're at the end of the line, you don't get water. We don't owe the Westlands Water District a living. We cannot continue this level of water usage in California and keep everything going.
What does an empty field mean for you?
It means there's no income generated.
You're looking at the inlet to the harbor of Fort Bragg, California. Normally at this time of the morning, you would see a line of small family-owned fishing boats heading out to the ocean to catch the protein-rich food that is the wild California king salmon. Neither CBS nor the Wall Street Journal bothered to even mention in passing that families in places that depend on commercial fishing have been devastated by the government's ban on salmon fishing. A 2-year total ban caused by alarmingly low numbers of salmon in the ocean because of years of sending too much water to Central Valley agribusiness instead of letting it flow down the rivers.
Try to give you a sense for just how much farmland is sitting idle because farmers don't have enough water. This was Joe's tomato patch. It's about 150 acres. But in this county alone, more than 250,000 acres sits idle. That's enough to fill around 200,000 football fields.
That sounds like a lot of idled land. Well, think about this. Do the math. It's about 850 miles from Morro Bay to Portland, and salmon usually swim within 25 miles from the shoreline. That makes 13.6 million acres of ocean that has been fallowed for 2 years in a row now because of excessive diversions of water going to industrial agriculture and the population of Southern California. Then there is the issue of unemployment. The Wall Street Journal says court-ordered water restrictions have made the jobless rate hit 14.3%, with some farming towns like Mendota seeing unemployment numbers near 40%. Statewide, the rate reached 11.6% in July, higher than it has been in 30 years. CBS has that part of the story, too.
In Mendota, California, the unemployment rate is alarming, nearly 40%. So twice a month, those who would have been in the fields harvesting now wait in a food line for handouts.
Now, if either CBS or the Journal had done a little homework, they would have learned that Mendota has a chronic unemployment problem and has had for decades, ranging from 28 to 35%, even in years when Westlands got all its water supply. And most farm worker jobs are seasonal, so many farm workers go on public assistance annually. An additional little fact, easy to find by a simple internet search, is that farm employment has actually gone up, a fact documented by California's Employment Development Department, and a fact that neither the Journal or CBS chose to point out. Meanwhile, because of excessive water diversions for agriculture, fishing communities up and down the state are suffering terribly.
This will give you an idea of what's happening to them. Just makes me sick to come back here.
Bruce Abernathy knows about the economic impact of no salmon fishing because he's the guy that the Fort Bragg city officials go to when a salmon fishing boat is abandoned by its owner. He goes and gets the boat and then crushes it.
Well, that's been disastrous for the local people that are involved with the salmon. It's hard on the restaurants and the gas stations and the motels and everything because they don't get the clientele that they used to, and the salmon fishermen themselves, it's been disastrous. The only way now to be a successful salmon fisherman is to have a good working wife that earns good money.
Tommy Ancona struggles every day with his Fort Bragg boat supply business.
I'm probably doing 1/3 of what I usually would do. We haven't landed a fish across this dock in 2 years. And the good years I put 500,000 pounds across this dock. And now I haven't put a pound, not a pound.
And let's not forget the politics of the situation. The Wall Street Journal says the Obama administration and the courts have offered farmers scant hope for relief. While CBS says,
Today, politicians used hundreds of words to describe the plight of this agricultural community.
These are some of the hardest working people you'll ever meet in your life.
While those waiting in line for food chose just one. Agua, water. As global demand for it increases, a bigger battle may be looming, with these communities on the front line, already watching every drop. Seth Doan, CBS News in Central California.
The myth of wasted water. I love that, yeah. If you look at all that water being wasted that's drying up in puddles beside the highways and in parking lots of McDonald's down in the valley, you want to talk about wasted water. Every time this bay gets flushed with water, it's good for the crab production, it's good for the herring production, it's good for the salmon production. All we've watched is these giant agribusinesses fight for more and more and more water to grow crops that are worth less and less and less.
it is disheartening to have to take major media news organizations to task for not telling the whole story. They seem to be taking their cues from big agriculture's big PR firms, without any thought of actually looking at the big picture. It's a shame that the once proud purveyors of truth have succumbed to taking the easy and cheap way out. Democracy deserves better. Salmon Water. Now.